much for accepting our call to speak with the UN Brief. Of course, I've seen the news that the contact tracing app has been quite successful. A lot of people are downloading it. So it's a pleasure to have you, Cian O'Maidin, CEO of NearForm, the technology company behind the contact tracing app that's being used in New York City and in New Jersey, and also in all of the state of New York. Your contract is with the Governor Cuomo, right? So welcome.
Thank
Tell
you.
us a little bit about the journey of NearForm working with the government of New York in the state.
So yeah, so NearForm, we've been around for about 8 years now, and up until March of this year, I had no idea that we would end up helping all these governments to build technology to fight COVID. So it started in March. We got a call from the Irish government on a weekend asking if we could help to build an application for them, and so we started working one weekend, and as part of the process of collaborating with the Irish government, we worked to open source the application so that other governments would be able to share the technology. And so it went from the Irish government launch to the north of Ireland adopting the technology, and actually so the first two governments in the world to enable interoperability across border were the north and south of Ireland. And from there, then we started working with Scotland and Gibraltar and some other local governments. And then in the background, something got out in the press. I think it was late in May, and that NearForm were building the technology for the Irish government, and so we started talking with one of the public health authorities on the eastern part of the US. So we started talking with Pennsylvania, and so over the period of a month or so, they got to a point where they're very comfortable with NearForm. They really like the approach of building this technology as a piece of open source, being able to leverage all the investment from the Irish government and various other governments into this platform. And so
working in the US before with other companies, you were already working with American companies. You were already in the States, your company.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're headquartered in Ireland, but we're I suppose we're pretty advanced technology company. We've been working pretty much entirely remotely as an organization for about 6 years now, and about 50% of our revenue comes from the US. So we working with big companies like divisions of IKEA, the New York Times, Conde Nast, lots of big brands on kind of high scale web and mobile applications with a focus on security and enterprise. So we're known for the ability to build really high quality pieces of technology really quickly, on under tight timelines, and to get it right the first time, get things out to market. So within the context of
receive a call from Governor Cuomo.
No, it didn't. We didn't get a call from any governor. So how we came to start working with New York was actually via the public health authorities. They all work together in North America. So we started working with Pennsylvania, and then they wanted to try and get some neighboring states to also adopt the technology, because it would enable that interstate travel and interoperability between the systems. So that's kind of how the whole New York thing came about.
And what's next for NearForm? How is it going? How is the download? Because the latest stats I saw were pretty good, encouraging. Most people are concerned with questions of security and privacy, but it seems like you have nailed that aspect quite well, because people are trusting, or maybe people are willing so much to try something, right? So what's your take? How is it going in terms of downloads?
it's going okay. I think we were probably spoiled to a certain extent in Ireland, that we got a huge number of downloads in like 48 hours from launch. But that's because you got such a small country, and it's more, everyone is like a third or fourth cousin of everybody else in Ireland, so. Um, but in the US, like it's going to take longer than 24 or 48 hours to get to a kind of critical mass level of adoption with the application. But the core things with the application, that we thought were very, very important was one, that from a privacy perspective, the design was of the application was privacy first from the get-go. And we did a lot of work with the Irish government initially, to build a privacy first design for the application. Everything is opt-in, all your data resides on the device. There's no GPS tracking, there's none of that stuff going on. We published the source code then a number of weeks in advance of launch, and so the tech community were able to take a look at it and go, this is bona fide. This is not like what people would come to expect from government would be, not very high quality apps and bits of technology being deployed. And then also, really importantly was, the data protection people out there quite rightly had concerns about privacy. And so in advance of launching in Ireland, uh, the Irish government worked on a data protection impact assessment. So they wrote like it was about a 200-page document. It was human readable, so it was written in language that everybody could understand. They published that a couple of weeks in advance of launch, and then they asked the data protection people to review the document and send some feedback. So, like the thing is, by the time the application got to launch, all of the people who had big concerns and were worried about it, we had actually dealt with them up front. So privacy was not a major concern here. And so, similarly then, being able to take all that body of work, as an open source project into other parts of the world, it just enables you to build upon that. So, adoption has been good. I think from here, the open source project at this point, I think there's like at least $10 million of investment that's gone into all of the applications, all the governments, and all that source code is available inside a new project with the Linux Foundation that we helped to found. And so we're now seeing governments in various parts of the world picking up the project, and we're just trying to enable them to use the technology. It's free for everybody. And from the open source project is called COVID Green. And so it's kind of like green for Ireland, but it's also green for the map going back to a nice green color, instead of that angry red color you're seeing on the maps at the moment. So from our perspective, we're just trying to help to drive adoption as much as possible. And the technology works. It actually breaks chains of transmission. It saves lives. It's shortening the time it takes to get a notification if you've had a close contact event. I think the average is about 2 days. Is about 2 days faster than a manual contact tracing process. Um, and we've heard of some other there's some other facts and figures as well that are going to come out, from official sources, across all the governments we've been working with over the last while. But the apps are also capturing more close contacts than manual contact tracing as well. So, I mean, that's the purpose of the technology is to break chains of transmission and save lives, and it's doing that now. So we just got to keep pushing at it and try and try and turn the map back green again.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. A pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah.
Cian O'Maidin, CEO of NearForm. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.